Hey guys, welcome back. Today I am going to play in my Life Crafted album, and I'm actually using a sketch from A Citrus Twist. So I will leave the link down below if you want to grab the sketch for yourself. Otherwise, let's get into it. Now the sketch is a square, so obviously can be used for a 12 by 12. I am going to sort of adapt it though for the slightly smaller spread in my Life Crafted album. I have started out with 2 base pages, so each of those is 8 1/4 by 5 inches wide. These are just going straight into my album, so no page protectors. So from those dimensions you can see it's not quite a square. I am going to alter the sketch just a little bit to make everything kind of fit into here. Now the first thing I'm going to do is trim off a couple of little strips of this really pretty blue and white polka dot paper. I'm going to just really lightly adhere it to the top of my page because I am going to do a lot of kind of final adhering on this page with my sewing machine. I love the texture it gives, but also it's a really easy way of adhering down tiny little strips like this. So for now, it's just a little bit of adhesive just to make sure that it stays stuck. I also want to add a couple of kind of like banner flags that are in the sketch, and so this is going to allow me to do that underneath that little strip without having to adhere anything down just yet. Now I've got 2 photos, that's what the sketch called for, so I have just resized those. They're a little bit smaller than 3 by 4 so that I can fit both of those on one page. And I'm going to do probably less layering behind those photos than what the sketch requires, just because I want my photos to be a little bit bigger on this spread, and so the more layers I put behind there, the more room I'm going to run out of. So I need to make the layers in behind those photos just a little bit smaller, a little bit less, sorry, rather than smaller, I guess, so that I can keep my photos sort of a bit bigger. Now here's where I was talking about the kind of banner flags from the sketch. I'm just going to add a few of these up into the top of that strip. And I pulled out some punches. I've got quite a little collection of punches that I hardly ever use. So this was the perfect excuse to do that. You can see the sort of color scheme that I'm working with is blues and yellows, and I'm going to add in a little bit of this wood grain. I'm making my own banner kind of flag shapes there by just punching semicircles from a little scalloped circle. I've punched 2. Of course, you could have punched an entire circle and just trimmed it in half. I was just trying to get these half shapes. Now again, because of the sort of reduced size of this actual page, I've punched out a bunch of these banners, and they're, by the time I've put like 2 or 3 in there, quite large. So what I'm going to do is just use my scissors to trim down a couple of them. This particular punch embosses a little piece into the middle of the punched out flag, and so all I did was use my scissors to trim around that. So you can see by trimming that down just a little bit, it gives me a little bit more room. I liked the way that that looked, so I'm going to do the same thing on this one here, just trimming off a couple of pieces from either side, and that automatically makes the whole flag smaller. So that gives me my little banner up in the top. You can see I've got a few extra punches there because I'm going to add those onto the right hand side of my spread eventually. That's where my title and journaling is going to go, and so adding those sort of flag elements down there as well, apart from working with the sketch nicely, is going to help to draw my eye towards the title, which I am moving from the original sketch. Now I loved that yellow stripy paper that I attached my photos to, but it just didn't quite stand out enough, so I decided to add a second layer in there, and I'm going to use that wood grain paper because it's really pretty. I am going to add one of these cork stickers as well to the top of my flags there. I've got 4, and I want to add the 5th one as that cork piece, but I'm going to do that after I've adhered that down with my sewing machine. So for now it's just going to sit there, and I can add a little bit of adhesive onto these flags. I'm probably I'm adding enough adhesive for them to attach. Not all of them are going to end up being caught by the sewing machine, so I want to make sure that those are all adhered down. It's really just that strip along the top that isn't quite adhered fully. Now I'm adhering my little photo block. I'm going to add a few extra little bits and pieces to that using these die cut ephemera pieces, and that's also what I'm going to build my little title block with as well. So I'm going to go through there and pick out some of these kind of more basic ones, and just I'm trying to stick to that color scheme, but I am going to add a little bit of this kind of teal color in as well. I love the little documented die cut piece, and so that adds that kind of extra color in there, as well as the kind of peachy color from that floral, that dark blue floral. So it just stops the whole thing being a little bit too themey, but it means this cluster that I'm creating over on the right hand side, I can add that little extra teal piece in there as well. So I'm effectively doing the same thing that I did up the top down the bottom here. I'm going to add a cluster, and then I'm going to group my little page flags underneath there. I'm just going to create my own here because it wasn't quite the right size, and I didn't actually end up punching out enough of the yellow striped ones. So I'm just creating my own with scissors, which goes to show you definitely don't need punches at all. You can do it just with a pair of scissors. Well, like I said, even that scalloped punch that I used, you definitely don't need the banner punches. I've got everything where I want it to be placed, but I want to type my journaling directly onto my page, so I haven't adhered anything down. I did just create a little pencil mark so that I knew where to stop my journaling. I ran that straight through the typewriter and then erased that pencil mark, and now I can go ahead and attach the die cut pieces. I've just got a vintage, sort of old vintage typewriter. It's a bit cranky, and so I definitely could not have put the page through the typewriter with this cluster attached to it, hence why I did my journaling first. Now I'm working on the same theory down here, which is I'm fully adhering these little page flags, but the cluster strip of die cuts there, I'm going to adhere that with my sewing machine, so I really only need to add a little bit of adhesive to keep all those pieces together. And then I can go ahead and I'm just going to stitch everything with just white cotton thread. That was what was in my sewing machine. I stitched down those two strips at the top. I added a little bit more stitching through some of the page flags at the top as well, and through a couple of pieces in my photo cluster, as well as that little die cut cluster for my title. And that gives me just that really fun texture, but make sure that everything stays nice and adhered. Now a little bit more of that teal color from one of those gold foiled tiny word strips. I love them. They're so pretty. I did end up attaching my cork piece up the top, and then the last thing that I'm going to add is my title. I'm doing that in black, which I kind of debated because I've got a lot of blue, a lot of navy blue in here, and I wondered whether I should use a blue title, but I do have black and white photos, so I'm going to tie that in by using these black foam alphas for my title. Clowns, appropriate. Look at those two faces. What a bunch of clowns. And that is my spread all done. Here are a couple of detail shots for you, and like I said, I will leave a link to the Citrus Twist blog post if you want to grab a copy of the sketch for yourself. Thanks for watching, guys. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. If you want to keep watching, there are a couple more videos on screen. Otherwise, I'll see you next time. Bye.